Y Radio Podcasts. Y Radio Podcasts are produced by students from Waiheke High School Media Studies. For more information on our show, check us out at www.waihekeradio.org.nz/yradio. So we're here for our weekly show that we produce, and the first segment of the show is called Culture on the Spectrum, and in the studio to my left I have...
Here.
William.
And Caius.
We've been quite busy this week, so we're sort of we've just cooked up a show sort of pretty much on the way to the studio.
We're winging it.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an idea about this earlier today, so... over the last week on Friday, and we're going to probably do this on Fridays in our class, we're going to start watching some films, and the films we're going to be watching are films from New Zealand, and films that for me, sort of talking about aspects of the film industry in New Zealand. So last week we watched a film from 1940 called Rewi's Last Stand. Now, if you are a listener out there who is of the older persuasion, you might actually remember this film because it was made by Rudall Hayward in 1940. It was a remake of a film that he made in 1927, and it's about the Battle of Aotearoa, which is just celebrated. I think it's 150th anniversary of the Battle of Aotearoa.
Yippee.
It's kind of a famous battle in the Waikato Wars because it became a battle where the Maori were vastly overwhelmed by the British soldiers, and it ended up pretty much being a slaughter. Now, there's a couple of famous sayings which come out of this. One is ka whawhai tonu mātou ake ake ake, which means I will fight you forever and ever and ever. But in the Pākehā minds, the war is also seen as a kind of a symbol of sort of an enduring respect between the two cultures, and also the tenacity and the ferocity of the Māori warriors who were pretty much going to their death. But why we kind of brought this up is after the film was made in 1940s, he had to Rudall Hayward had to cut the film down to about an hour and 10 minutes. And in the 1960s, the film was distributed all around New Zealand. And so if you are an older person, you may remember seeing this film at your school. It would have been delivered to the school on a roll of film, and everyone would have been in the hall possibly, or maybe in a big classroom, and you'd watch this film. So what I thought we could talk about is films that teachers show in class. Kier, what's one of your most memorable films that a teacher has shown you in class, and why? What do you think about the place of film in a classroom?
No, you put me in the hot seat after that really long intro.
Sorry about that.
I was falling asleep. But listen, my favorite movie I've ever watched in school probably Whale Rider, because I've watched it like 4 times. I swear every time I do English above like year 8, I've watched Whale Rider.
I've actually never watched it. Could I get a quick plot synopsis? Maybe I have, but I don't remember it.
Can we get a plot breakdown?
Yo, so there's this no plot breakdown. But there's also Boy, which I think is probably my favorite one.
Boy's definitely the number one movie I watched in class. It's
like,
just because they make us watch dumb movies.
It's not a dumb movie. It's a pretty good movie.
Name one of those other dumb movies.
Wait, what film were you talking about? Boy.
I was talking about Whale Rider, and then you're like, no, talking about it. So
no, I mean, like, we don't really need a huge plot summary because I'm pretty sure everyone in New Zealand's seen Whale Rider.
But wait, it's the best movie that I've watched.
William, talking to the mic.
Yeah, Boy's the best movie I've watched at school. I can't really remember the others. I just remember I was very bored.
You were bored during Boy?
No, I'm
doing the other movies. I like Boy.
So we're gonna take over this radio station.
Caius, what do you? What's a memorable or what's a film that you kind of think? Oh yeah.
I don't know. The only real films that I watched for like school and stuff was in Mr. DJ's classes, and he's not a very like average English teacher.
Yeah.
Where he just shows you like a normal movie. So we watched things like Slumdog Millionaire and this other one that was like a weird like post global warming
What?
I think
Actually,
Ashton probably
Ashton
knows
might
the
remember.
name.
What was the
He's
name
like
of that
walking
film?
over here all giggly.
Beast of the Southern Wild.
Beast of the Southern Wild.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I've heard of that one.
Right. So sort of like they're both, I think, international kind of films. I mean, Slumdog Millionaire obviously takes place in like Delhi or somewhere,
India.
and then Beast of the Southern Wild I think takes place in like Louisiana or something.
Yeah, it's one of the states. It's like I won't explain it.
So what
It's
class?
really
Is that a media studies class or an English class?
It's a media studies class.
Yeah.
Media studies with English.
So you would hope that he kind of, that in some ways there's, he would have some discerning ability to pick something. But
Also,
I'm interested in the
Birdman.
boy thing because, like, there would be a lot of New Zealanders who would say they first watched Boy in a classroom, eh?
100%, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic institution.
Do you remember what class it was that you watched it in?
It was Fire Claire's year 12 English class.
So English classes show up a lot for the film.
Oh, it was year 11.
Wasn't it? Yeah, because I watched it with you, didn't I? Yeah.
And did you have to? I mean, I suppose part of the dread of watching the film in some way is that once you watch the film, what comes next.
Writing.
Whoa. The sheep.
You have to write about it.
Oh, yeah.
but like I feel like that's made me appreciate films more. Like especially like when we watched Birdman last year in English media studies. I watched it and I was like, it's a pretty good film. And then we started doing all the essays on it, and you get deeper and deeper into it, and it kind of lets you appreciate it a bit more, especially if it's like a very complex piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's what about in other classes? If you like, say for example, what about in science? Is it mostly documentaries?
Yeah, we never
either-
watched anything interesting in
I
science.
think
Really?
I watched one that was called like, I think it was about like packaging and how like some packaging lies about like being dolphin safe when they have these big nets, and I think it was called like Seaspiracy. And so there was that one, but I think there was also another one that we watched in like history. Like we watched a couple ones about the civil rights movement. There was one like Little Rock, the Little Rock 9 or something.
Mr. Walsh made us up the Little Rock thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess social studies must. I mean, that's social studies and / history, because there is the whole genre of
It's
historical
movies,
fiction. Yeah, that could be in a one way. I suppose it's a easy way to get an overview of and visualize what some historical incident was about. But it's also there's something about a film, which is a kind of a creative and a storytelling exercise, trying to relay history is also going to be could be slightly problematic.
Yeah, because they're trying to make it like an actual interesting movie.
Yeah.
Like you can tell, watching things like, this is outside of school now, like Cool Runnings, and there was another one called Eddie the Eagle, and these were about
someone
have you
watched
seen that?
Cool
I know,
Runnings.
I've seen them both.
and,
They're both
yeah.
awesome.
But so it's like
Mr.
movies-
Knighton used to play Cool Runnings for his English class.
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's
yes.
peak.
But
Yeah.
like watching movies like that, you can tell it's based on a true story, because if Cool Runnings was an actual movie, they would have gotten like gold medal. But the thing is, they flip over and then they just like their drive to get past the finish line is what it's all about.
Also, spoiler alert, Eddie the Eagle dies.
No, does he die?
What? I thought he died at the end of the movie.
No, he doesn't. No, Eddie the Eagle does not die.
doesn't.
I can tell you right
spreading
now.
misinformation.
Yeah, this is
I swear he died.
Spoilers.
I remember
Yeah.
Lucas laughing.
If you're out there and you haven't seen Eddie the Eagle, what's the name of the film? He does not die. It's kind of interesting. Like, I mean, in one way, the use of films and as like a teaching kind of device. Like, do you guys like it when people put on films, or?
Yeah, that's a free period.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so there's kind of that this idea that it's just a free period. I mean, obviously, and in some ways, I'll be perfectly honest, sometimes for a teacher, showing a film is also a little bit of a pressure relief, right? Because you can sit there. I mean, in media studies, it's part of the content, so it's like, well, I have to pick a film. I don't remember watching Rewi's Last Stand myself in primary school, although I was on like Mastodon the other day and I posted I'd watched it, and someone came up and was like, oh my god, you're triggering me from my primary school days. What did you guys think about watching a film? Like, could you imagine yourself in the 1960s like being in school and watching Rewi's Last Stand, like, what would you have thought about it?
I feel like, honestly, if I was living back then, I would be more interested in movies than I am now, just because...
In movies in general.
Yeah, because I'd be just like, oh, wow, the moving pictures sound, wow.
Yeah, so it's less about like the content, it's more about like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't that like a thing... This is really anecdotal. I have no idea if it's true,
that's not that doesn't really apply. Like, if I was to show you guys a YouTube video, you're not like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but that's because we have the like
grown
real
up with it.
technology.
So
for it,
they
you
wouldn't
know?
have been like they had films and since the 19. So if you were in the 60s, you would have been going
true,
to the movies.
because it was made in like the 1940s.
Yeah,
True,
and so
true,
films
true,
have been
true.
like a popular occurrence from since the 19.
They were probably
Yeah, but you would normally be going into like a
40s.
movie theater for it. So to
True,
have it being
true,
shown
true.
in your school is
True.
still like...
This film from 1940, and what did you guys like think about the film? It's quite a different. It's not something that the style is not something that we're used to. But what do you think of the film?
It's definitely better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay, buddy.
I liked it quite a bit. I didn't get
Yeah.
to see the end of it.
Oh, didn't you?
No, because I think
We
you guys
put-
watched that in the morning. And
Yeah,
I
we
was
did.
there.
I'll show you the end. Yeah, the end is kind of interesting.
But I liked it. It didn't vary. It didn't seem to be like out of place, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it still felt like a movie, not like I'm watching a movie from the 1940s.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like
that's
maybe
interesting.
like at the start you kind of had to get used to it and like the way that they talked, but then eventually you
Yeah.
kind of got into it.
The
a little.
writing was surprising. Like the dialogue was actually really good.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
like
was.
watching old movies, even like Jaws, I'm like, this is actually a good movie. Like, it's like-
Jaws is by Spielberg. Why is it not
Yeah,
going to be a good movie, bro? I mean,
I don't know. I was looking at it going like, oh, this is old, so it's
Man,
bad.
I was watching
So
The Predator.
that's what kind of interests me is that you sort of
It doesn't.
have your default position is that if something's old, it's not good.
I mean,
No.
William, stop
It's some-
yelling into the thing, man. God, you can't have William on the radio anymore. Wait, which mic is William? Say something.
Hello.
Keep going. I'm trying to get ready. Okay, there we go. But now we know he's on that one. All right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's this default position where if it's old, it's not good. No, now you're on. I just had to move you down.
I think it's just there's a lot more like shortcuts nowadays for like filmmakers, so it's a lot easier to get something out at a higher quality, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, those guys were learning as they went, I guess. And now people have.
I mean, what do you classify as an old movie, mister? Because there are some
Yeah, what do
very,
you
very
see as an
well
old
written
movie?
movies in like
Yeah.
the 1970s and 80s, you know, like The Terminator and
Yeah.
The Predator and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, see, I don't really think of those as old because I was kids when they came out.
Ooh.
But like we have watched last year, we watched a film called Scarface, which I think was from like 1927. No,
Not-
yeah, like older than
oh,
that.
the
one.
original.
Yeah, really
Oh
old.
my god. Okay.
And actually, we have watched the 1909 film, which is only like 5 minutes long. Great
Oh.
train robbery. It's really interesting. Like I did a bunch of reading on it last night, and this film actually. So the original one was like an hour and 35 minutes long, and the stuff that they cut out sounds really interesting. But he cut it out. Like apparently there's a whole. The battle scene is much longer. And a lot of stuff goes on, and what you actually see in the battle scene in the original apparently is that is the actual terrible, the really bad stuff that happened, like the slaughter and like women that were like bayoneted and the things. He has a lot of this, but he takes it out when they send it to England because he doesn't want to offend the viewing public, and so it's almost like he's like, I need to make money.
He's folding.
He folds.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
He kind of folds. I mean, he has to cut it down for the time thing, but that's
But it's
interesting.
what he chose to cut, right?
What he chose is to cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And I also found out that the woman who played Ariana, she ends up marrying Rudall Hayward, and she also writes a lot of the songs and the music for it as well.
No way.
That's actually pretty crazy.
Legendary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's I now I've watched it a couple of times, and it's probably a film that has, since the time it was played in that generation, has colored what Pākehā particularly think of that battle. And it's a little bit glossed over if they got that color, whereas the Māori understanding is a lot more, kind of gory.
Well, yeah, because they have ancestors from there. Like, didn't you say that when they were recording that, it was like the actors who they were using, like their grandparents were in it.
Yeah,
right.
The main actor is actually who plays Rewi Maniapoto is a descendant of Rewi Maniapoto, and a lot of them are. So Hayward was pretty sensitive to the to what was going on, and he was trying to do right by history, but he sort of makes things a little bit more cheery than what they are. Although it sounds like he didn't, but then when he had to cut it out, that's what he cut out. And that would have been most students' view of the Māori Wars.
Oh.
Plus the romance.
All right,
which is made up.
Here's a question for you. So you think this movie is like outclassed now, right? Do you think classics from like your generation, like real good movies, do you think they'll get outclassed in the near future, like 20 years from now?
What do you mean? What do you mean by outclassed?
Like technologically,
technologically outshined by a mile.
Oh,
maybe even writing.
I think
maybe even writing wise.
Well, they already are. I mean, if I look at the most, like movies that I saw when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, the special effects were amazing. Now those special effects look very dated and pre-computers.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, I was listening to a story this morning about. It was actually kind of a boring story, though, in a way, about like it's from a business podcast or something that I just have on in the morning. But they were talking about how in the US, movie theaters are now moving to this kind of model where you go in, you have dinner, you have a drink, and you have like a really fancy seat. Have you ever been to the Silky Otter Theater in Ponsonby?
I have.
Actually, at Event Cinema, me and Kia went. They had a menu, we had a gold class, we had comfortable chairs.
So they're going more for an
everything.
experience than actually just watching the movie.
Yeah,
that's kind of how they had it before, where it was like exclusive. But now when Disney releases a thing, it's like, oh, I'll wait like 2 weeks and then I can watch it at my house.
Oh yeah, I think Disney Plus has killed the majority of Disney movies by a mile.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Because why would I watch the subpar Marvel movie if I can just wait 2 months for it to be on Disney Plus?
If you just like work your mind on like a different timeline, you don't really need to wait. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're only expecting, and I guess, would something like going to the movies where the experience was different attract you as a consumer?
I think it would. I
yeah.
think what makes people go to the movies nowadays is the knowledge that I'm really looking forward to this movie. I really want to watch it. I want to have the experience of going to it in the theaters with my friends, as opposed to this movie looks okay, the reviews are subpar, I'll just watch it for 2 hours at home.
Yeah, I'll watch it and do something else while
I mean, if you ever go to the Silky Otter, like the seats are like have like remote controls on them. They're like super comfortable. You can you can have your feet all the way up if you want, and that food's actually really good. So it's not like you're getting subpar food, which is what you used to get, right? You'd have like a $18 thing of popcorn.
I hate that.
Small bag of 15 pieces of popcorn.
This food at the Silky Otter is actually nice to eat,
it's like food
and they deliver it to you in the theater.
Yeah. The waiters walking around.
Yeah.
That's it's obviously working if they're still open. So people.
My understanding is
want
that
it.
there's a lot of this going on in America. That's kind of the cinema experience is sort of becoming more of this like some bigger experience that you.
All right, but here's the real question. Let's say you're watching like a masterpiece movie like Dune 2, but if you went to the Silky Otter.
Ironically, I watched Dune 2 and Silky Otter.
Yeah. But if you would you watch a bad movie at the Silky Otter just for the experience of having waiters and
No,
food?
I think you're right. Is that bad? Yeah, bad movie. I'm going to wait for on Netflix.
I think movies, especially Disney movies, are in a really weird point in their life cycle right now where you have to push to make something really good. Otherwise, people are not going to see it in cinema.
No.
Well, I feel like most of the things that Disney is doing now is reboots, sequels, and remakes.
Yeah, you guys heard of the live-action Mufasa movie coming out?
I saw that.
Isn't there a live-action Minecraft movie?
Don't
say anything bad about that.
I'm going to the cinema.
I don't know anything about that.
I'm going to Silky Otter for that.
I'm watching Craven.
Thanks for listening to Y Radio Podcasts. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app and check us out online at www.waihekeradio.org.nz/yradio.